All right, hey everybody. Thanks for joining. We are now neck deep into the goings-on of the RNC. You just missed a speech from Hulk Hogan.
I've got the hardest job tonight. I have to follow Hulk Hogan. But I stand here tonight
sad state of
as a
affairs
private
when
citizen
Hulk Hogan is the
who
keynote
loves this
speaker.
country. I've been asked to say a few words and then to pray, and we're going to do that.
So
Last
I think
Saturday,
we probably don't need to listen to the prayer by Franklin Graham, who is a right-wing sycophant and one of a number of people who will happily exploit right-wing governments to perpetuate fear, all for political favor. So with that said, Donald Trump will be making his speech at the RNC shortly. In the meantime, I figured we can use what little time we have as we await any movement from the RNC to answer some questions that you might have. So if you have any questions and you want to have that discussion while the praying is happening, which I'm surprised that they're praying to anybody who's not named Donald Trump, but I guess they still want to maintain some modest degree of plausible deniability. In any case, if you want to ask some questions, we can have a discussion as we await Trump's speech here at the RNC.
I don't have the answer for that. But one thing I do know is that God loves us, and he wants us to be with him in heaven one day. And that's through faith in his son, Jesus Christ. You see, the Bible says that God so loved the world.
I guess the obvious question is the one I just got, which is why is Hulk Hogan there? I don't know. Because the same party that derides the left as the shut up and dribble party, and why do they have professional athletes talking out about politics, has brought in Hulk Hogan, and he's just one of a long line of, I would say celebrities, but quasi-celebrities, like who was the most famous one who spoke to the empty chair, Clint Eastwood, just a few years back and humiliated himself. So the same party that will deride the left for bringing in celebrities also makes sure to feature people like Hulk Hogan and Clint Eastwood at their conventions. That is, when they're not towing the line of Christo-fascism with far-right preachers. Any updates on the Louisiana 10 Commandments law? No update right now. As most of you know, if you've watched my channel, Louisiana has mandated that the 10 Commandments be shown in all classrooms. Obviously, that is blatantly unconstitutional. Analogous cases have already been found to be unconstitutional, and yet Republicans have seen the 6-3 conservative split in this Supreme Court, and they're just trying this case all the way up to the Supreme Court again, knowing full well that they have a better chance at actually making sure that this can pass this time, given what we've seen from Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, and all of the others. But we have no update in terms of that appeals process right now. But it is being challenged in court. By the way, if you want to ask me a question while we wait for Trump's speech, make sure to tag my name in the chat so I can easily see the question that you have.
It's an honor for me to be asked to pray for Donald Trump this evening. And so what I'd like to do, I'd like us to pray, but I'd like us all to stand.
But not for everybody there. Not for humanity, not for the vulnerable, but for Donald Trump. That's who they are praying to. To claim that this is not a cult is to bury your head in the sand and ignore the reality right in front of our faces.
Hearts, thank you for saving the life of President Donald J. Trump.
Best guess on Trump's focal points this evening. I can tell you what it won't be. It won't be unity. And if I hear anybody in the media one more time talk about the new tone that's coming out of Donald Trump, I mean, dear God, talk about missing the forest through the trees. Talk about not being able to recognize the challenge in front of us with this media.
We stand before you tonight. We say thank you for the provisions you have given to the United
Where's
States
Melania?
of America.
Well,
You
Melania
have
is not
blessed
introducing
this
Donald
country
Trump.
more than any
I can't
country
remember
in the
who's introducing
Sadly,
Donald
as a
Trump.
nation, we have forgotten who is
It's actually
responsible for
escaping
all
me
the
right now,
freedoms,
but it's not Melania. It's some
that we
Trump
enjoy.
sycophant. But
It is all
I don't think I have to
come from you.
explain why Melania is probably not there.
This evening, our nation is in trouble. We're divided politically, racially, economically, with millions of people seeking refuge and hope in our dry and thirsty land. You're the only one who can fix the complexity of the problems that we face today. We pray for President Trump that you would give him wisdom, strength, and a clear vision
Best guess
for the
as
future
to whether
of this
he's
nation
sleeping or praying
and the
right
task
now.
that is at hand.
It really is anybody's
Continue
guess,
to
isn't it?
protect him from his enemies. I pray that you would surround him with men and women who will give him sound counsel and guidance. We pray for Melania, for Barron, and for all the President Trump's children and
It
grandchildren.
is interesting. A lot of the questions I'm getting
pray for Senator
are
J.D.
about
Vance, his
President
wife Lucy,
Biden,
along
and
with
clearly
his
that's the
family.
biggest story in the news right now
thankful
as
for
we
his
await to see
strong
what
stand
President Biden
for
is going to
defending
do. A
life.
lot of the reporting suggests that there may be a decision made one way or the other within the next few days. I think what I would like to do here, because I have thousands of people watching right now, maybe we'll do a poll in the chat. And you can let me know where you stand, for those watching right now, where you stand in terms of wanting President Biden to either, gut it out and stay in the race or step aside for Kamala Harris to step in. So I'm going to throw that poll in the chat right now.
One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we pray this in the mighty name of my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. Amen.
Okay, so I just threw that poll in the chat right now. So if you're watching this, I would like to get
Ladies and
some
gentlemen,
indication of what
please
you
welcome
think.
businessman and executive vice president of the Trump Organization, Eric Trump.
Oh, this is going to be intellectually stimulating. I can already tell.
Good evening, America.
There he is with his ear pillow.
8 years ago, my father sat our family down. He spoke of a nation in decline, of dreams slipping away, of a future endangered by failed leadership and broken promises. It was in that moment I knew my father had made a decision that would forever change our lives. We realized he had chosen to step into the arena, to fight for the soul of America. He decided to leave behind the comforts of an unbelievable business empire.
Again, for those
Leave
watching right
behind
now,
everything
please
he had ever built.
participate in the poll.
the
I think you just have to
call
make
to
sure that
serve
you're
our
subscribed to the
nation.
channel to partake in the chat. It doesn't cost you
Unlike
anything, just
his
hit the subscribe button.
predecessor,
There's
it was
over
not
4,000
a
of you watching.
decision
Let's make sure
born
everybody
out of
takes
necessity.
part in the poll right now, and so we
Unlike
can
the current
get a better idea of
president,
what you think President
it was
Biden should
not
do.
a decision that would enrich his family. Rather, it was a decision made out of love for this country and a deep concern for America's future.
Jared Kushner has $2 billion from the Saudis, but sure, not going to enrich the family. Got it.
My father was clear it would not be easy, that there would be a huge price to pay, and that the attacks would be vicious. Looking back, that was an understatement. The made-up Russia hoax, the sham impeachments, the efforts to destroy an unbelievable company, a company that I run today, the efforts to cancel us, to silence him, to gag his free speech, and to drag him through every radical left courthouse in America, to take his life.
Yeah, nothing says radical left like
Yet through it
Georgia.
all, he's shown unwavering courage and determination, not just in public, but in every private conversation with
Wow,
me
right now,
and
if you're
our
looking at the
family.
polling in this chat for this live stream, it's almost split 50-50 in terms of what President Biden should do, whether he should drop out
He
and
stood
endorse
tall.
Kamala Harris or
He
stay
was
in
not
and
by
secure the
personal
nomination.
ambition.
47 to 53. We still have 2,000 people who haven't voted. So if you haven't yet voted, make sure to vote.
For all of you, the American people. That man is my father. That man is the 45th president and soon to be 47th president of the United States. That man is Donald J. Trump. Each time I've stood on this stage, America has been at a dire crossroads. In 2016, many people began to doubt the promise of America. Our economy was struggling. Jobs were scarce. Our standing on the world stage was weak at best. Veterans were forgotten. Our military was in shambles. Our educational system was broken, ranked 30th in the world. He could no longer tolerate an inept administration.
The irony is that he's railing against jobs. Trump lost the most jobs of any president since Herbert Hoover. He had a net 3 million job loss, including 150,000 manufacturing jobs. And they're talking about education. The states that rank lowest in the entire country are all Republican states. It's Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana. Those are all completely controlled by Republicans.
He could no longer stand to see words like Christmas stripped from public use or the Pledge of Allegiance removed from our schools. But my father saw potential where others saw despair. Donald Trump built the New York City skyline. He did so during a time when businesses were turning away from the city he loved. Crime was rampant. The streets were dirty. But he had the Midas touch. And he turned those streets and neighborhoods into gold. He faced every challenge with tremendous vision and grit. As he did during the 2016 election, he rolled up his sleeves. He remained unapologetic. He did not care to be politically correct. He restored hope. He restored a voice to millions of Americans who had been ignored. He restored the American dream. Under my father's leadership, the economy climbed to record heights. Jobs were created at an unthinkable pace. Unemployment reached historic lows across all demographics.
Okay, here's the truth. Trump oversaw 3 million job losses. It was the worst jobs presidency in American history. He left office with a 6.3% unemployment rate, and it got as high as 15%, all bolstered by the fact that he pretended that a worldwide pandemic was a hoax, and we had the most cases and the most deaths in the entire world, despite the fact that we have only 5% of the world's population, 20% of the world's cases, and 20% of the world's deaths. Does that sound like it was presided over well by Donald Trump?
My father made the United States safe. Our borders were closed. There was peace in the Middle East. Soleimani
Nuggets?
We always have nuggets.
My father made the United States respected again. With the courage to walk into countries like North Korea, with the courage to impose tariffs on China, and with the courage to tear up trade deals that cost Americans their jobs. He brought manufacturing back to America. Small businesses flourished. He did what he promised. He put America.
Joe Biden's presided over the strongest presidency for small business applications of any president in history. Certainly more than Trump.
But he also created a movement that threatened the special interests in the political elites. A movement that cast a bright light on the institutions weaponized against the American people. You see it in our schools. God bless the moms who fought back. You see it in your workplace. You see it on every news station, in every newspaper. You see it in the military. The most iconic military installations on planet Earth are stripped of their identity and renamed. Fort Bragg, Benning, Fort Hood. You see it in Hollywood. You see it in our two-tier judicial system. They don't even hide it anymore.
Two-tier judicial system. This guy stole classified documents. That case was dismissed. This guy incited an insurrection and blocked the certification of an official proceeding in Congress. That case was set aside because of the Supreme Court. This guy was convicted of 34 felony counts, and that sentencing was put on hold. The Georgia case is being appealed because of the Supreme Court's decision. So this idea that there's a two-tier justice system and it doesn't benefit Donald Trump, give me a break.
Stands for. My father even became the target of an assassin who almost killed America's single greatest hope for our future. The swamp is terrified of this incredible movement. They're terrified of it. They're terrified of you and the tens of millions of people watching us on TV right now. They've tried everything to keep him from you, everything, to destroy his legacy, to destroy his family. They have failed, and they will not win. I love my Florida delegation right here.
Just a quick side note. It looks like we have almost 4,000 votes, so about 80% of you have voted in the poll right now. Maybe 75% have voted. It is very split. 47 to 53 think that President Biden should stay in versus drop out. So we are about as split as we could possibly be. Notably, I did a live stream about a week ago, and it was 70-30. 71-29, actually, in terms of whether people think Biden should stay in or drop out. So I'll leave this poll up for another moment so that we can have maybe 4,000 or 5,000 votes and get a pretty good sample size. But it is telling that quite a few of you have moved over into the dropout and endorse Kamala Harris camp, but that it's still largely split half down the middle.
Today, as it was in 2016, America's at that crossroads again. Energy prices are soaring. Interest rates are crippling. Everything is unaffordable. The U.S. dollar has been diminished. Inflation has made it impossible for Americans to live, to save for their future. Our infrastructure is crumbling. Our border is out of control. Millions are dead and displaced in Russia and Ukraine.
I don't know what planet this guy is living in, but the only reason that there was no bill passed to close the border is because his dad made sure that no Republicans would vote for it. Otherwise, inflation is down to its target 3%. Literally everything this guy says is just completely upside down.
Votes. Crime terrorizes our cities and our suburbs as far left.
Crime is at a low compared to where it was during the Trump administration. This guy literally lies like his dad. There was a Trump crime spree. Crime is down roughly 25% from where it was during the Trump era.
Destroying the dreams of young girls who have trained every minute of their lives. We no longer trust our elections. We no longer trust our judicial system. And we no longer believe that our government is working in our best interest. In spite of where we are today as a nation, I'd like to speak to every American. To the homeless veteran sleeping under a bridge as illegal immigrants are housed in the most expensive hotels in New York.
These guys just traffic in as much fear porn as they could possibly traffic in.
I'm sorry. We know it's wrong, and we will fix it. To the single mother who can no longer afford her rent, afford groceries, and has been forced to work 3 jobs, I'm sorry. It does not have to be this way. To the parents who lost a son or daughter to fentanyl, including the incredible woman that spoke the other night, while an administration does absolutely nothing.
They had a bill that was negotiated by James Lankford, a conservative from Oklahoma, that would have passed. It was the most conservative border bill that would have been ever taken up by a Democratic president and voted into and signed into law. The only reason that bill is not in effect right now is because Donald Trump called Republicans and made sure that he whipped votes against it.
Teachers who care, and my father will empower them.
So that people like Eric Trump could make this speech fear-mongering about fentanyl.
To the law enforcement officers, our brave Border Patrol, Secret Service agents who work every single day to protect our communities, knowing damn well that the system will throw you under the bus, I'm sorry. We will stand behind you. To commuters often petrified to take a bus, take a train, or walk the streets in cities across our nation,
don't you notice?
I'm sorry.
Everything he's saying
right there will
is
fix this.
fear porn. They fearmonger. This is straight demagoguery, lying about everything that the country is going through right now, all to scare people into thinking that it's a lot worse than it is.
Families, to the families with children with disabilities, families who can no longer afford medical benefits or to take a vacation, I'm sorry. We will make America great again.
Families who can't afford to take a vacation. We've just had the most traveled day in American history. I think 3 million people traveled about a week ago for the July 4th holiday, or 2 weeks ago for the July 4th holiday. More than ever traveled during the Trump administration. So again, people are traveling, people are taking vacations in record numbers right now.
They're after all of us, and you just happen to be standing in their way.
We're going to do about 1 more minute on the poll, and then I'm going to end the poll. So if you haven't yet voted, make sure to head over to the chat, subscribe to the channel so you can participate. Doesn't cost you anything, and then vote.
To all Americans watching tonight, the greatest retribution will be our success. Success not just for ourselves, but for our grandchildren and our children. Under President Donald J. Trump, the swamp will be drained, America will be respected, our cities will be safe, our streets will be clean, and our border will once again be secure.
So we'll end the poll right now. 57 to 33. Very interesting. We had 5,000 votes in the poll.
We will have prosperity. Your hard-earned tax dollars will enrich a better America, not be squandered in corrupt foreign nations. Education will be handed back to the states. We will no longer be 30th in the world. We will be first.
Yes, that's what we should do for education. Put control in Republican states. Let's just take a look at what's happening in Mississippi, Louisiana, and Alabama when it comes to educational rankings.
Our children will understand family, our children will have values, and our children will love God. Our country will prioritize free speech, respect freedom of religion, and honor our Constitution. As his son, I've never been more proud of a person in my life. A man who has defied all odds more than once. A man who believed in the promise of America when others turned away. A man who saw a nation in need of a champion and answered that call with unwavering determination and courage. A man who survived a bullet that was intended to eliminate him permanently from our future and from our family. Never have I been more proud to be a Trump. Never have I been more proud to stand by my father's side. I remain incredibly honored to be part of this journey, a journey with all of you, a journey to save the greatest country on earth, a journey with the most incredible people I have ever met. Dad, 5 days ago,
It's like, Dad,
Laura,
please
Luke, Carolina,
say I
and
love you to me one time.
held our breath as we saw
One
blood
time.
pour across your face. By the grace of God, divine intervention, and your guardian angels above, you survived.
I put a new poll in the chat. I want to predict what you think will happen, not what you want to happen, what you think will happen. Do you think Biden will stay in, or do you think Biden will drop out? Again, this is not what you want. This is what you think will happen. Let's see how well we do on the prognostication business.
You are the greatest fighter I have ever seen. You are strong, you are full of life, and you are unapologetic. Your optimism is contagious. Your backbone is unbreakable. Your conviction to fight for what is right and against all that is wrong is truly next level. The whole world saw your strength as you stood up. You wiped the blood off your face, and you put your fist in the air in a moment that will be remembered as one of the most courageous acts in the history of American politics. You shouted, "Fight! Fight! Fight!"
Nothing like calling for unity when you have the RNC literally chanting fight. This must be that elusive new tone we've been hearing about.
I'm honored to be your son. I'm honored to speak to our great nation tonight. You are a true leader. You epitomize strength. Our country loves you. Our country appreciates you. Our country misses you. And on November 5th, our country will re-elect you as the 47th President of the United States of America. Good night, Milwaukee. God bless you all.
Okay, I'm actually trying to see if I can get a schedule right now to see what the order will be tonight in terms of speakers. And of course, there's Trump with his ear pillow. Okay. In any case, for those just joining, we are watching the RNC. This is the final evening of the RNC, and Trump will be making a speech this evening. So far, if you're just tuning in, you've missed such eloquent rhetorical prowess from folks like Hulk Hogan and Franklin Graham and Eric Trump. So, if you haven't been here, consider yourselves lucky. You've been able to retain what brain cells the rest of us haven't. So I ran a poll right now, and I'll end this poll in just a moment. We already have about 3,000 votes. Whether you think Biden will stay in or Biden will drop out. And again, like the same poll that we ran earlier tonight, where it was nearly split 50-50. Again, this is 55-45. 55% think Biden will stay in, 45% think Biden will stay out. The interesting part is I would imagine that if you asked anybody in the media, they would probably say 80-20 in terms of Biden dropping out, but that's been the story all along, hasn't it? With that said, while we wait for the next speaker, if you have questions that you want to throw them in the chat, please just, all you have to do to participate in the chat is subscribe to the channel, and that's a great way to support my work anyway. It doesn't cost you anything. I'll never put content behind a paywall. I don't do paid ads or anything like that, but just subscribing to the channel is a great way to support what I do. I have one question here. Do I think normal conservatives will start a new party? No, I don't. There is not enough of them to make it a viable party anyway, and ultimately most of them will just suck it up, kiss the ring, and toe the party line under Trump. There are a few who don't. You know, there is the Tim Millers out there, the folks at the Bulwark, Republican voters against Trump, the Mike Murphys, you know, people I've had on my show, and you know, more power to them, because it's clearly not a majority of there's not a majority of them who are willing to do that. By the way, while I wait for questions to get thrown into the chat, By the way, for folks asking for slow mode, this is slow mode. There are a lot of people writing in the chat, though. Another way to support what I do is I do have a book coming out in less than a month. It's called Shameless. It features Pete Buttigieg, Al Franken, Mehdi Hassan, Jen Psaki, Heather Cox Richardson. So if you'd like to read my book when it comes out, a great way to support what I do is to pre-order the book. I have the link pinned in the comment section of the chat right now, or you can just go to Amazon or Barnes & Noble or bookshop.org and just type in Shameless by Brian Tyler Cohen. That is a great way to support what I do, and I would very much appreciate that. Certainly not mandatory by any means, but if you'd like to support my work, that is a great way to do it. And let me know if you pre-ordered it. Throw it in the chat and let me know. I see that some people are already saying that right now, and I very much appreciate it, so thank you.
The next First Lady of the United States.
Okay, so I'm getting the question.
Mrs. Melania Trump.
Oh, do we have Melania Trump here? If Melania is making a speech, it'll probably have been better when it was in the original version from Michelle Obama, but it'll still be interesting to hear. While we wait for Melania to come in, for those asking, yes, the audiobook is narrated by me. I did narrate the audiobook. And the audiobook is available on all the same platforms that the book is on. What is this whimsical music? This is like some tea time British monarch stuff, which I guess kind of makes sense. So it doesn't look like Melania will be making a speech. Probably she wanted to just leave the words as they were when Michelle Obama said them originally, but they were just announcing her arrival in the venue. To this like Castle of Versailles tea party music.
This is a story as uniquely American as the ideals and freedoms we all cherish.
I think we're good. There is a limit to the extent to which I'm willing to just pump straight Republican propaganda at people, and that limit is a commercial espousing the virtues of Donald Trump's long career screwing over working people. Okay, so I'm getting the question how I think the poll is going to be decided. In terms of what I think will happen, let me just first caveat this by saying that I am a terrible predictor, and I've predicted everything wrong. I thought Hillary Clinton would win. I thought Netflix stock would plummet. I have never been correct at predicting. If I had to guess, reading the tea leaves, I don't know that Biden will be able to withstand the pressure to stay in. In particular, there is a few set of polls that I think are especially damaging, and that is polls that speak to respondents who said how they would vote with Senate candidates versus how they would vote Biden versus Trump. And that was a YouGov poll that came in a few days ago, and every single one of the Democratic Senate candidates that were polled were leading, but Joe Biden was trailing by anywhere from 7 to 12 points, 7 to 15 points. So he wasn't leading in any of the head-to-head races against Trump, but Tammy Baldwin in Wisconsin, Ruben Gallego in Arizona, Sherrod Brown in Ohio, all of them were leading their Republican counterparts. So polls like that, where you have respondents who say we are willing to cast the ballot for Democrats, but not Biden, I think that's going to be especially damaging. With that said, I don't, the same caveats apply. I don't know whether those polls were people who were telling the truth, whether the polls themselves were accurate. I don't know. I'm not privy to any of this stuff. I don't see internal polling or anything like that, but just judging from what I've seen publicly without knowing anything that's happening behind the scenes, without knowing anything about the legitimacy of the polls that we're seeing moving forward, just me guessing, I would probably guess, if I just had to put money on it, I would probably guess that he would drop out and endorse Kamala Harris. But again, I don't know. That's just my guess. That's not to say anything of whether I agree with it or not. It's just what I think will happen based on just what I'm seeing. So, and it looks like about 55% agree with that prediction. Not to say that we agree with it happening, just agree with the prediction. So, look, the fact is we'll know one way or the other very soon.
Largest in America's history, and it led to higher take-home pay for working.
With that said, look, our message stays the same, and I know people are despairing right now. Our message stays the same, whether it's
Houston, we have a solution.
By the way, yes, I do have YouTube Premium, but not on my streaming computer. I'm not logged in. Probably should do that. In any case, I think our message stays the same, whether it's Joe Biden at the top of the ticket, whether it's Kamala Harris at the top of the ticket. I don't presume it'll be anybody else. Let's be honest. If Joe Biden steps down, it'll be Kamala Harris. Anybody who tells you that there's going to be some brokered convention if Joe Biden steps down, that he's not going to endorse Kamala Harris, do not listen to those people. That is absolutely not what's going to happen. In the event that Joe Biden did step down, it would be Kamala Harris. I think we just leave it at that. That's the obvious point here. Anybody who's saying otherwise is probably just trying to rage bait you into engaging with them. So, but our message stays the same. Doesn't matter. We are not voting for a person. We are voting for a set of ideals that are going to be carried out by the Democratic Party and against Project 2025 and what it means. And I want to talk for just a very quick moment about one aspect of Project 2025 that is so dangerous, and that is Donald Trump will seek to reinstate something called Schedule F. What Schedule F did was an executive order that he passed in October of 2020, so a month before he lost the election. It was ultimately overturned by Joe Biden, but what Schedule F seeks to do is reclassify hundreds of thousands of career civil servants as political appointees. So basically, the DOJ, the FBI, the FCC, the FEC, everybody is career civil servants, and you can't just come in and fire them because there are protections for those people. And rightfully so, because you don't want prosecutors, for example, that are just partisan hacks. You want people who know what they're doing and who are loyal not to a political party, but the Constitution and the law. Donald Trump will seek to reclassify them as political appointees. If they're political appointees, what can you do? You can fire them. And you can appoint your own political appointees. What that would mean is that Trump would have the ability, via Project 2025, via Schedule F, to basically take hundreds of thousands of people in the federal government and replace them with acolytes, true, like, Trump sycophants who are loyal to him. Think about how that might manifest in 2028, for example, when a bunch of Republicans come forward and say all of the votes that were cast in Milwaukee and Madison are fraudulent. All of the votes that were cast in Detroit are fraudulent. All the votes that were cast in Philadelphia are fraudulent. Do you think that with a bunch of lackeys, with Mike Flynn's and Kash Patel's, those kind of people, Jeffrey Clark's, that they would ignore those bogus claims of fraud, or would they validate them and say, you know what, you're right, we can't have these votes right now because they're all fraudulent. We have to throw them away. This is how autocracy begins. This is the sleepwalking into totalitarianism. And so that alone, just what will happen with Schedule F, is enough to kind of convey the seriousness of what Project 2025 is.
Say fight, fight, fight. Say fight, fight.
And we're back to unity. I think I can spare everybody. So that's the part that scares me most. Project 2025 is no joke. It will consolidate power in the executive for the president. And look, if you have a bunch of people in the DOJ and the FBI who suddenly validate these bogus investigations into voter fraud that even Bill Barr said was bullshit, and that was his actual word, bullshit. But then you suddenly have people like Jeffrey Clark, Kash Patel, Stephen Miller, who will validate these claims. Think about the implications for elections moving forward. That is the way that Republicans could make sure that Democrats don't win moving forward. That is how it happens. So don't sleep on Project 2025 and recognize that whether it's Joe Biden at the top of the ticket, whether it's Kamala Harris at the top of the ticket, our goal remains the same. It is to make sure that these people do not control government, and it's to make sure that we're able to continue the work that we all started with regard to climate, with regard to healthcare, with regard to gun safety, with regard to union jobs, with regard to the Voting Rights Act and codifying Roe, whatever it is. It's all important to continue the work that we started. But the most important thing is to make sure that Donald Trump doesn't get anywhere near the levers of power, and that Republicans don't control any of the levers of power, because now we know what their plan is, and the way that they will enact it is if they are able to take control of any branch of government. So I was just asked, why am I giving a platform to Trump tonight? Two reasons. One, it's because I have a captive audience while we wait, and so I'd rather use this opportunity to let people know what Project 2025 is, for example, what our agenda is, for example. You know, it's not that I'm just going to be able to always get thousands of people to just tune in. So if I can take, for example, a moment like this where we know Trump is going to speak at the RNC and use this opportunity, use this platform to myself tell the audience what's at stake in this election, I think it's an opportunity wasted if I don't take advantage. And the second is that I have the opportunity, by virtue of doing this on YouTube, to fact check in real time, which I nearly lost my voice doing when Eric Trump came up. Here's what you're missing, by the way. I'll give you a quick moment of this. I saw somebody call it a cringe fest, and that's pretty much the whole thing in a nutshell. The whole thing in a nutshell. Okay, I'm going to end the poll. It looks like about half and half. Half of you think Biden's going to stay in, half thinks Biden's going to drop out. So it remains to be seen what happens. But again, the point stays the same. Our job doesn't change. Our messaging doesn't change.
Say Trump, Trump, say Trump, Trump. I need to hear you louder than that. One more time. I'm a cowboy, badass and black. You say Trump, Trump.
God, what I would give for an audience shot right now. The most awkward people in the world listening to a washed-up rock singer from 30 years ago.
Trump, Trump. Get rocks in the house. This is where I'm at. Ladies and gentlemen, give Get ready for the most patriotic American badass on earth, President Donald J. Trump. But first, another American badass, my brother, Dana White. God bless America.
Dana White is coming up, and I believe Dana White will be the person introducing Donald Trump. This is the head of the UFC. By the way, just a note for those watching right now, if you're not yet subscribed to this channel and you want to support my work, please subscribe to the channel. It does not cost anything. I won't put anything behind a paywall. It's just a great way to support what I do. So just hit the subscribe button if you're not yet subscribed. About half of you aren't subscribed right now. So if half of you, for the half that aren't subscribed, that would be a huge help. Somebody commented with Kid Rock, hepatitis C is in the house. So for those just tuning in, Dana White will be the person introducing Donald Trump, so we are minutes away.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Dana White. I am the CEO and president of the Ultimate Fighting Championship. So 2 weeks ago, I got a call from President Trump asking me if I'd be willing to speak tonight. As usual, there was no pressure, no demands. He asked me as a friend, and of course I said yes. Then, after I accepted his offer, he sent me a text message, and I just want to read to you a little piece of what President Trump wrote to me. Dana, I'm so honored that you will be doing the introduction at the National Republican Convention. Think of it as the biggest fight you ever had, a fight for our country and even the world. I only wish you didn't have to interrupt your family trip, but I hope they understand, they love you, and they know how important this is.
This guy left vacation with his family so that he can go introduce
running
Trump.
for president of the United States. He's fighting for the future of this country, and he's concerned about interrupting my family trip. That's the President Trump that I know, a man who truly cares about people. The mainstream media likes to push the narrative that he doesn't care about anyone but himself. I absolutely know that's not the truth because I've been friends with this guy for 25 years. And for the people who
He's like me, a multi-millionaire. He's nice to
I
me.
just want to make something very clear. Nobody in the Trump campaign has ever told me what to say. Nobody tells me what to say, and I'm nobody's puppet. And I'm not telling you what to think. I'm telling you what I know. And I know President Trump. I know President Trump is a fighter. I've been saying this since 2015. Now look at what's happened over the last 10 years. We have all seen it with our own eyes. I'm in the tough guy business. And this man is the toughest, most resilient human being that I've ever met in my life.
I'd love to see him ride a bicycle.
The higher the stakes, the harder he fights, and this guy never, ever gives up. So what's at stake here? The answer is in President Trump's text, and I quote, "A fight for our country." I know why he's running for president again. Why else would he put himself through everything he's dealt with just to get back here? We all know he doesn't need this. This guy's got a great life. He has a beautiful family, and he has achieved everything that you could possibly achieve in life. I know President Trump is literally putting his life on the line for something bigger than himself, and he's willing to risk it all because he loves this country. And I know he wants what's best for the American people, all American people. I know he's running for president to
Except the women, the black ones, the gay ones, the atheists, the Jews, the Buddhists, the immigrants. Other than that, all good.
This is the last real land of opportunity. President Reagan once said, government's first duty is to protect the people, not run their lives. And if you're buried in government red tape, how will you ever start your own business?
This is from the guy who's advocating for a presidential nominee who wants to strip you of your abortion rights. What?
Why would you ever buy a house? I know that President Trump is fighting to save the American dream, and that's what's at stake in this election. We are choosing who we want to lead us in this fight. I know President Trump is a proven leader, a fearless leader, and this country was in a much better place when he was in the Oval Office.
Yeah, we had 500,000 dead people from COVID, a 6% unemployment rate, and 150,000 lost manufacturing jobs, along with 3 million other lost jobs.
I know I'm going to choose opportunity and prosperity. I know I'm going to choose real American leadership and a real American badass. And I'm not telling you what choice to make, and I'm not telling you what to think. I'm telling you what I know. I know America needs a strong leader, and the world needs a strong America. I know Donald J. Trump is the best choice for President of the United States. My fellow Americans, it is my honor to introduce the 45th and soon-to-be 47th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
That was Dana White, the president of UFC, doing a bunch of empty fear-mongering about how the country is right now while pretending that Donald Trump had a successful presidency. And now Donald Trump is going to give his speech.
Things were gone. I'd worked for all my life, and I had to start again. Just my children and my wife. Thank my lucky stars.
This is the Bible guy who stuck the Constitution onto the Bible, slapped a $60 price tag on it, and hawked it to a bunch of rubes who will open their wallets and buy anything that Trump tells them to buy so that he can give that money to Alina Habba to buy nice bags when she loses court cases for Donald Trump. The whole thing is a grift. Anybody who doesn't recognize that it's a grift isn't opening their eyes right now. These people will pour their money out, hand it over to Donald Trump. He'll pay his lawyers so that he can lose cases, only to see them overturned by the Supreme Court. Meanwhile, Alina Habba gets rich, can buy any handbag that she wants, and you guys are none the wiser for it. For those just tuning in, Trump will be making his speech just in a few moments. So if you want to see it,
From sea to shining sea, from Detroit to Houston, and New York to LA.
you can't look at that and see that this is a cult. You cannot look at that and not see that it's a cult. Impossible. And the saddest part is these are people who beat their chest as alphas, and yet they want nothing more than to be ruled by this guy. They want to be under the thumb of an autocrat so badly. They pretend that they love the Constitution and they love the law and order and the rule of law and all this stuff. They just want a dictator so bad. They want to be told what to do. They want no rights, no freedoms. They want the women in their life to be subjugated. They want nothing more than to be under the thumb of a ruler.
Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. Wow. And thank you, Dana. Thank you, Kid Rock, sometimes referred to as Bob. And thank you, Lee, right from the beginning. Thank you very much. What a talent. What a beautiful, beautiful soul. Thank you. Friends, delegates, and fellow citizens, I stand before you this evening with a message of confidence, strength, and hope. 4 months from now, we will have an incredible victory, and we will begin the 4 greatest years in the history of our country. Together, we will launch a new era of safety, prosperity, and freedom for citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed. The discord and division in our society must be healed. We must heal it quickly. As Americans, we are bound together.
The whole media is going to fall over itself about unity
A shared
now.
destiny. We rise together or we fall apart. I am running to be president for all of America, not half of America, because there is no victory in winning for half of America. So tonight, with faith and devotion, I proudly accept your nomination for President of the United States. Thank you. Thank you very much.
This is the part where we say, definitely not a cult.
Thank you very much. And we will do it right. We're going to do it right. Let me begin this evening by expressing my gratitude to the American people for your outpouring of love and support following the assassination attempt at my rally on Saturday. As you already know, the assassin's bullet came within a quarter of an inch of taking my life. So many people have asked me, what happened? Tell us what happened, please. And therefore, I will tell you exactly what happened, and you'll never hear it from me a second time because it's actually too painful to tell. It was a warm, beautiful day in the early evening in Butler Township in the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Oh, it's story time.
Music was loudly playing, and the campaign was doing really well. I went to the stage, and the crowd was cheering wildly. Everybody was happy. I began speaking very strongly, powerfully, and happily because I was discussing the great job my administration did.
My hope for everybody watching is that you find somebody who loves you as much as Donald Trump loves Donald Trump.
Behind me and to the right was a large screen that was displaying a chart of border crossings under my leadership. The numbers were absolutely amazing. In order to see the chart, I started to, like this, turn to my right and was ready to begin a little bit further turn, which I'm very lucky I didn't do, when I heard a loud whizzing sound and felt something hit me really, really hard on my right ear. I said to myself, wow, what was that? It can only be a bullet. and moved my right hand to my ear, brought it down. My hand was covered with blood, just absolutely blood all over the place. I immediately knew it was very serious, that we were under attack, and in one movement proceeded to drop to the ground. Bullets were continuing to fly as very brave Secret Service agents rushed to the stage, and they really did. They rushed to the stage.
What if you can get your healthiest teeth and gums in 7 seconds? Meet Proclaim, the oral health system that gives you professional-level, 360-degree deep cleaning at home, 13 times more effective than flossing. Order now at proclaimhealth.com.
I love competing with other athletes and for my country.
It means a lot to me.
Safe because I had God on my side. I felt that. The amazing thing is that prior to the shot, if I had not moved my head at that very last instant, the assassin's bullet would have perfectly hit its mark, and I would not be here tonight. We would not be together. The most incredible aspect of what took place on that terrible evening in the fading sun was actually seen later. In almost all cases, as you probably know, and when even a single bullet is fired, just a single bullet, and we had many bullets that were being fired, crowds run for the exits or stampede, but not in this case. It's very unusual. This massive crowd of tens of thousands of people stood by and didn't move an inch. In fact, many of them bravely but automatically stood up looking for where the sniper would be. They knew immediately it was a sniper. And then began pointing at him. You can see that if you look at the group behind me. That was just a small group compared to what was in front. Nobody ran, and by not stampeding, many lives were saved. But that isn't the reason.
He's so insecure. Even talking about this, he has to talk about his crowd size.
They knew I was in very serious trouble. They saw it. They saw me go down. They saw the blood and thought, actually most did, that I was dead. They knew it was a shot to the head. They saw the blood. And there's an interesting statistic. The ears are the bloodiest part. If something happens with the ears, they bleed more than any other part of the body. For whatever reason, the doctors told me that. I said, why is there so much blood? He said, it's the ears. They bleed more. So we learned something, but they just, this beautiful crowd, they didn't want to leave me. They knew I was in trouble. They didn't want to leave me. And you can see that love written all over their faces. Incredible people. They're incredible people. Bullets were flying over us, yet I felt serene. But now the Secret Service agents were putting themselves in peril. They were in very dangerous territory. Bullets were flying right over them, missing them by a very small amount of inches. And then it all stopped. Our Secret Service sniper, from a much greater distance and with only one bullet used, took the assassin's life, took him out. I'm not supposed to be here tonight. Not supposed to be here.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
He loves being a victim. There is nothing this guy loves more than reveling in victimhood. He'll stand up here for 20 minutes and just keep talking about how he was almost taken.
Thank you. But I'm not. And I'll tell you, I stand before you in this arena only by the grace of Almighty God.
Ask Donald Trump to name his favorite Bible verse.
In watching the reports over the last few days, many people say it was a providential moment. Probably was. When I rose surrounded by Secret Service, the crowd was confused because they thought I was dead, and there was great, great sorrow. I could see that on their faces as I looked out. They didn't know I was looking out. They thought it was over. But I could see it, and I wanted to do something to let them know I was okay. I raised my right arm, looked at the thousands and thousands of people that were breathlessly waiting, and started shouting, "Fight, fight, fight."
This must be that unity that we've been hearing about.
Once my clenched fist went up, and it was high into the air. You've all seen that. The crowd realized I was okay and roared with pride for our country like no crowd I have ever heard before. Never heard anything like it. For the rest of my life, I will be grateful for the love shown by that giant audience of patriots that stood bravely on that fateful evening in Pennsylvania. Tragically, the shooter claimed the life of one of our fellow Americans, Corey, comparator, unbelievable person, everybody tells me. Unbelievable. And seriously wounded, two other great warriors, spoke to them today, David Dutch and James Copenhaver, two great people. I also spoke to all three families of these tremendous people. Our love and prayers are with them, and always will be. We're never going to forget them. They came for a great rally. They were serious Trumpsters, I want to tell you. They were serious Trumpsters, and still are. But Corey, unfortunately, we have to use the past tense. He was incredible. He was a highly respected former fire chief, respected by everybody. Was accompanied by his wife, Helen, incredible woman. I spoke to her today, devastated, and two precious daughters. He lost his life selflessly acting as a human shield to protect them from flying bullets. He went right over the top of them and was hit. What a fine man he was. I want to thank the fire department and the family for sending his helmet, his outfit, and it was just something, and they're going to do something very special when they get it. But we did something which cannot match what happened, not even close. But I am very proud to say that over the past few days, we've raised $6.3 million for the families of David, James, and Corey, including from a friend of mine just called up. He sent me a check right here. I just got it. $1 million. From Dan Newland. Thank you, Dan. And again, when speaking to the family, I told them, I said, well, I'm going to be sending you a lot of money, but it can't compensate. They all said the same thing. You're right, sir. We appreciate so much what you're doing, but nothing can take the place in the case of Corey. And the other two, by the way, they were very, very seriously injured, but now they're doing very well. They're going to be okay. They're going to be doing very well. They're warriors. So now I ask that we observe a moment of silence in honor of our friend Corey. There is no greater love than to lay down one's life for others. This is the spirit that forged America in her darkest hours, and this is the love that will lead America back to the summit of human achievement and greatness. This is what we need. Despite such a heinous attack, we unite this evening more determined than ever. I am more determined than ever, and so are you. So is everybody in this room.
We're going on more than 10 minutes now of him milking his shooting. Not a single word about what he'll do for Americans. Just milking his own shooting because he loves being the victim and loves talking about himself. He could do this all night. Just bask in the adulation, bask in the victimhood.
Our resolve is unbroken and our purpose is unchanged to deliver a government that serves the American people better than ever before. Nothing will stop me in this mission because our vision is righteous and our cause is pure. No matter what obstacle comes our way, we will not break, we will not bend, we will not back down, and I will never stop fighting for you, your family, and our magnificent country. Never. And everything I have to give with all of the energy and fight in my heart and soul, I pledge to our nation tonight. Thank you very much. I pledge that to our nation. We're going to turn our nation around, and we're going to do it very quickly. Thank you.
Turn it around from what?
This election
adding 16 million jobs?
The issues facing our country and how to make America successful, safe, free, and great again.
Let's hear it. I'm
In
ready
an
for the
age
fact
when
check.
our politics too often divide us, now is the time to remember that we are all fellow citizens. We are one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just like basic boilerplate empty platitudes.
And we must not criminalize dissent or demonize political disagreement, which is what's been happening in our country lately at a level that nobody has ever seen before. In that spirit, the Democrat Party should immediately stop weaponizing the justice system and labeling their political opponent as an enemy of democracy.
This guy just had a case for stealing classified documents dismissed, and he's complaining about a weaponized government. Meanwhile,
I am the one saving democracy for the people of our country.
Meanwhile, Hunter Biden was indicted and convicted. Bob Menendez was indicted and convicted. We have another Senator Cuellar who was indicted, and Trump got off, but he's complaining about a weaponized government.
Just read on Monday a major ruling was handed down from a highly respected federal judge in Florida, Eileen Cannon, finding that the prosecutor and the fake documents case against me were totally unconstitutional, and the entire case was thrown out of court. With all of that publicity, thrown out of court.
I'll explain why it was thrown out in a moment after the speech.
Want to unify our country, they should drop these partisan witch hunts, which I have been going through for approximately 8 years. And they should do that without delay and allow an election to proceed that is worthy of our people. We're going to win it anyway, but worthy of our people. On this journey, I am deeply honored to be joined by my amazing wife, Melania. And Melania, thank you very much. You also did something really beautiful, a letter to America calling for national unity, and it really took the Republican Party by surprise. I will tell you, it was beautiful.
Took the Republican Party by surprise because she wrote it herself and didn't plagiarize it from Michelle Obama. I'd be surprised too. Original writing by Melania
Some
Trump.
very serious people said that we should take that letter and put it as part of the Republican platform. That would be an honor, wouldn't it? Right, Mr. Congressman? But it captivated so many, so I also want to thank my entire family for being here. Don, Kimberly, Ivanka and Jared, Eric and Lara, Tiffany and Michael, Barron. We love our Barron. And of course, my 10 wonderful grandchildren. You saw a few of them up there on my lap before. And how good was Dana? Was Dana good? I mean, was he good? You know, he was on probably the only vacation he's had in about, maybe ever, because he works, but about 10 years with his wife, very far away. I won't tell you where, but very, very far away, beautiful place. And my people called, and he said, yeah, I won't be able to do it. This is many, many years. I promised my wife I can't do it. And they came in, they said, Dana won't be able to do it, because he was my first, second, and third choice. I said, well, you know.
Not his wife, the president of the UFC.
It's good. It's good for him. And that was it. About 30 minutes later, she came back in, sir, Dana just called. He's going to do it. And his wife, she said, you can't turn him down. You just can't do it. You have to go. That's a good wife. So he got on a plane. He got here a little while ago. Now he's going to get on the plane in a little while, and he's going to go back home to his wife. But they're great, and I just want to thank her and him and their whole family, because that's not easy. And Kid Rock, same thing. Called, he said, I want to be a part of it. I want to be a part, because, you know, Kid does his great song, Big, Big Monster song. I had no idea. You know, he became a friend of mine over the last 10 years. And he's amazing. Everyone loves him. I didn't even know how big he was. You know, he has rallies, 35, 40,000 people he gets every time he goes out. I think he's making so much money, he doesn't know what the hell to do with it. You want to know? And then we have my other friend, and I've known him so long, and we took that song, and it was a big success, but we made that.
This is just Donald Trump talking about literally nothing. I mean, dear God, how do these people idolize someone like this? This is the rambling tirade of someone who's just like a lonely old man who should be at home on a golf course.
But they all wanted to be here. They called. And how about the Hulkster? How good was he? Is he up?
Not a single policy. We are 25 minutes into this, not a single policy. He spent 15 minutes waxing poetic about his own ear. Now he's just naming people he knows. And these people fall over this guy like they've never seen another human being on the face of the earth who could do what he does. This is just a lonely old man whose errant synapses are firing and words are just falling out of his face that don't mean anything, that aren't particularly effective, or it's just rambling diatribes, incoherent rambling diatribes.
You were fantastic. Thank you very much. Followed by Eric. What was that all about? Boy, that was good. I didn't want to really come up here. But he was so great, and he's such a good young man. He went through a lot of trouble, and Don last night was incredible. They went through so much trouble. They got subpoenaed more than any people probably in the history of the United States. Every week they get another subpoena from the Democrats, crazy Nancy Pelosi, the whole thing, just boom, boom, boom. They've got to stop that because they're destroying our country. We have to work on making America great again, not on beating people. And we won. We beat them and all. We beat them on the impeachments. We beat them on indictments. We beat them. But the time that you have to spend...
He was impeached twice.
The time that you have to spend, if they would devote that genius to helping our country, we'd have a much stronger and better country. And Jason, the biggest star in country music. Jason, thank you for being here. Jason, thank you very much. Jason Aldean, he's good. I like his wife even better, by the way. She's here.
This is just like, this is nothing. Can you imagine if Barack Obama did this before he became president?
New friend and partner.
Gave a speech like this?
The next Vice President of the United States, the current Senator from Ohio, J.D. Vance, and his incredible wife, Usha. He's going to be a great Vice President. He's going to be great. He'll be with this country and with this movement, greatest movement in the history of our country, Make America Great Again. When they criticize it, they say, we're going to try and stop MAGA. I said, MAGA is Make America Great Again. What are you going to stop? There's nothing to stop. Then they say, oh, that's right. It's very tough to fight it. And all of the people that did try and fight it have failed. But he's going to be with us for a long time, and it was an honor to select him.
What? He lost the 2020 election. All of his slate of America First candidates lost in 2022. Dr. Oz, Herschel Walker, Kerry Lake, Doug Mastriano, Don Bolduc.
Long time. Enjoy the ride. And a very special thank you to the extraordinary people of Milwaukee and the great state of... Oh, there they are. There they are. You are so easy to spot. And Green Bay's going to have a good team this year, right? They're going to have a good team. They're going to have a good team. Most of the audience doesn't like it, but it's true. You're going to have a very good team this year. And by the way, Wisconsin, we are spending over $250 million here creating jobs and other economic development all over the place. So I hope you will remember this in November and give us your vote. I am trying to buy your vote. I'll be honest about that. And I promise we will make Wisconsin great again. We're going to make it. Thank you, Mr. Governor. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm here tonight to lay out a vision for the whole nation, to every citizen, whether you're a young or old man or woman, Democrat, Republican, or independent, black or white, Asian or Hispanic. I extend to you a hand of loyalty and of friendship. Together we will lead America to new heights of greatness like the world has never seen before. We were right there in the first term. We got hit with COVID. We did a great job. Nobody knew what it was, but nobody's ever seen an economy.
いらっしゃいませ.
Than just prior to COVID. Coming in, did a great job. Never got credit for that. We got credit for the war and defeating ISIS and so many things, the great economy, the biggest tax cuts ever, the biggest regulation cuts ever, the creation of Space Force, the rebuilding of our military. We did so much. We did so much. Right to try. Right to try is a big deal. We got right to try. They were trying to get that for 52 years. Somebody's terminally ill, and hopefully there's nobody in this audience, but it does happen a lot. They're terminally ill and they can't use our new space-age drugs and other things that we are way ahead. We have the greatest doctors in the world, the greatest laboratories in the world, and you can't do it. They've been trying to get that approved for 52 years. Wasn't that easy? The insurance companies didn't want to do it. They didn't want the risk. The labs didn't want to do it because if it didn't work, people are pretty far down the line toward death. They didn't want to do it. The doctors didn't want to have it on their records, so I got everybody into an office. 52 years they tried. Sounds simple, but it's not. And I got them to agree that somebody that needs it will, instead of going to Asia, Europe, or someplace, or if you have no money, going home and dying, just die. We got them to sign an agreement, agree to it, where they're not going to sue anybody. They're going to get all of this stuff. They're going to get it really fast. And what's happened is we're saving thousands and thousands of lives. It's incredible. Right to try. It's a great feeling. Under our leadership, the United States will be respected again. No nation will question our power. No enemy will doubt our might. Our borders will be totally secure. Our economy will soar. We will return law and order to our streets, patriotism to our schools, and importantly, we will restore peace, stability, and harmony all throughout the world. But to achieve this future, we must first rescue our nation from failed and even incompetent leadership. We have totally incompetent leadership. This will be the most important election in the history of our country. Under the current administration, we are indeed a nation in decline. We have an inflation crisis that is making life unaffordable, ravaging the incomes of working and low-income families, and crushing, just simply crushing our people like never before. They've never seen anything like it. We also have an illegal immigration crisis, and it's taking place right now as we sit here in this beautiful arena.
And if you're wondering why he made the clarion call to block the border bill, it's so that he can do this right here, make this speech right here and complain about it.
All across our land, nobody's ever seen it.
He would rather have the problem to campaign on than an actual solution.
International crisis, the likes of which the world has seldom been part of. Nobody can believe what's happening. War is now raging in Europe and the Middle East. A growing specter of conflict hangs over Taiwan, Korea, the Philippines, and all of Asia. And our planet is teetering on the edge of World War III. And this will be a war like no other war because of weaponry. The weapons are no longer army tanks going back and forth.
And we're back to the fear porn.
Weapons are obliteration. It's time for a change. This administration can't come close to solving the problems. We're dealing with very tough, very fierce people. They're fierce people. And we don't have fierce people. We have people that are a lot less than fierce, except when it comes to cheating on elections and a couple of other things. Then they're fierce. Then they're fierce. So tonight, I make this pledge to the great people of America. I will end the devastating inflation crisis immediately, bring down interest rates, and lower the cost of energy. We will drill, baby, drill.
We are producing more oil now under Biden than at any point in history. We are more energy independent than at any point in history, and inflation is down to 3%, which is lower than most of the world.
Can you believe what they're doing? But by doing that, we will lead a large-scale decline in prices. Prices will start to come down. Energy raised it. They took our energy policies and destroyed them. Then they immediately went back to them, but by that time, So much was lost. But we will do it at levels that nobody's ever seen before. And we'll end lots of different things. We'll start paying off debt and start lowering taxes even further. We gave you the largest tax cut. We'll do it more. You know, people don't realize I brought taxes way down, way down, and yet we took in more revenues the following year than we did when the tax rate was much higher. Most people said, how did you do that? Because it was incentive. Everybody was coming to the country. They were bringing back billions and billions of dollars into our country. The companies made it impossible to bring it back. The tax rate was too high, and the legal complications were far too great. I changed both of them, and hundreds of billions of dollars by Apple and so many other companies were brought back into our nation, and we had an economy the likes of which no nation had ever seen. China, we were beating them at levels that were incredible. And they know it. They know it. We'll do it again, but we'll do it even better. I will end the illegal immigration crisis by closing our border and finishing the wall.
Border would have already been closed if it wasn't for that guy. Remember, the only reason that border bill wasn't passed, the border bill that was negotiated by Kyrsten Sinema, Chris Murphy, and James Lankford, is because Trump whipped his lawmakers, his party, into not passing
military, almost $800 billion. I said, I'm going to take a little of that money because this is an invasion, and we built, most of the wall is already built, and we built it through using the funds because what's better than that? We have to stop the invasion into our country that's killing hundreds of thousands of people a year. We're not going to let that happen. I will end every single international crisis that the current administration has created, including the horrible war with Russia and Ukraine, which would have never happened if I was president, and the war caused by the attack on Israel, which would have never happened if I was president. Iran was broke. Iran had no money. Now Iran has $250 billion. They made it all over the last 2.5 years. They were broke. I watched the other day on a show called Deface the Nation. Has anyone seen it? And they had a congressman who was a Democrat say, well, whether you like him or not, Iran was broke dealing with Trump. I told China and other countries, if you buy from Iran, we will not let you do any business in this country, and we will put tariffs on every product you do send in of 100% or more. And they said to me, well, I think that's about it. They weren't going to buy any oil. And they were ready to make a deal. Iran was going to make a deal with us. And then we had that horrible, horrible result that we'll never let happen again. The election result, we're never going to let that happen again. They used COVID to cheat. We're never going to let it happen again. And they took off all the sanctions, and they did everything possible for Iran. And now Iran is very close to having a nuclear weapon, which would have never happened. This is a shame what this administration, the damage that this administration has done. And I say it often, if you took the 10 worst presidents in the history of the United States, think of it, the 10 worst, added them up, they will not have done the damage that Biden has done.
Biden added the most jobs of any president in history. We have the longest stretch of sub 4% unemployment in half a century. We have more legislation that's been passed in the last 2.5 years than has been passed in any time for any progressive president in our lifetimes.
We're going to have a thing called...
We got an infrastructure bill that was a joke when Trump was president. We have a health care bill that was a joke when Trump was president. We have record climate funding, health care for veterans. Like, what is this guy talking about?
We had the most secure border and best economy in the history of our country, in the history of the world. We had the greatest economy in the history of the world.
Trump left office, the economy had contracted 3.4%, and he lost 2.9 million jobs.
Nobody had seen anything like it. We had no inflation, soaring incomes were going. Nobody can believe it. You can't believe it.
We have more disposable income today than we did when Trump was president, even at the peak, of his economic
height. And the world was at peace. Inflation has been a killer for our country. No matter what you make it doesn't matter because inflation is eating you alive. People that were putting away money, they were making great wages, the highest they've ever made, but they were putting away a lot of money. Now they are just being destroyed. They're not putting away anything. They're barely living. They're going into savings accounts.
People have more disposable income, as I mentioned before, today than they've had than they have ever had.
Go back to Germany from 100 years ago. You can go back to any country that suffered great inflation. We've suffered the worst inflation we've ever had. But go back and see what's happened to those countries. We've had the worst inflation we've ever had under this person. But in less than 4 years, our opponents have turned incredible success into unparalleled tragedy and failure. It's been a tremendous failure. Today, our cities are flooded with illegal aliens. Americans are being squeezed out of the labor force and their jobs are taken. And by the way, you know who's taking the jobs?
We have the lowest rate of unemployment, lower than when Trump was president.
Taken by illegal aliens. And you know who's being hurt the most by...
The last time the unemployment rate was this low was over 50 years ago, in the 60s.
The Hispanic population, because they're taking the jobs from our black population, our Hispanic population, and they're also taking them from unions. The unions are suffering because of it. Thank you. Thank you. I like you too. Thank you very much. Inflation has wiped out the life savings of our citizens and forced the middle class into a state of depression and despair. That's what it is. It's despair and depression. We cannot and will not let this continue. Less than 4 years ago, we were a great nation, and we will soon be a great nation.
When he left office,
Great nation again.
When he left office, he had lost 3 million jobs, including 150,000 manufacturing jobs. The economy had contracted 3.4%. The unemployment rate was 6.3%, and 500,000 people had died from COVID.
Fixed, and it will be fixed very, very quickly. So tonight, whether you've supported me in the past or not, I hope you will support me in the future because I will bring back the American dream. That's what we're going to do. You don't even hear about the American dream anymore. With great humility, I am asking you to be excited about the future of our country. Be excited. Be excited. And by the way, the news reports, look at all of those big networks. Look at them. They're all here. But every one of them has said this could be the most organized, best run, and most enthusiastic convention of either party that they've ever seen. Every single one. And it's true. It's true. And there's love in the room. There's great love in the room. So I better finish strong. Otherwise, we'll blow it. And we can't let that happen. Now, this was great. All of the great people that spoke, and everybody hit a home run. I mean, there's not one that I can think of where I said, oh, gee, that wasn't great. Every single person. I refuse to be the only one. Don't do that to me. They're already getting ready. See, I gave them an idea. Now, this was a great convention. This was, I think we're actually going to go home and miss it. You know, usually with a first of all, look at these crowds. You'd never have this at a convention. Look at these crowds.
You literally only have these crowds at a convention. They all have this crowd. They are identical.
Love. It's about love. This week, the entire Republican Party has formally adopted an agenda for America's renewal, and you saw that agenda. And it's very short compared to the long, boring, meaningless agendas of the past, including the Democrats. They write these things that are hundreds of pages long, and they never read them after they're done. In their case, fortunately, they don't read them because they're pretty bad. It's a series of bold promises that we will swiftly implement when you give us a Republican House And Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. We have our great Speaker of the House with us tonight. Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. Thank you. A Republican Senate, we have many senators here, and send me back to our beautiful White House just a few short months from now. We're talking about just months. It can't come fast enough. We have to get it done. First, we must get economic relief to our citizens. Starting on day one, we will drive down prices and make America affordable again. We have to make it affordable. It's not affordable. People can't live like this. Under this administration, our current administration, groceries are up 57%, gasoline is up 60 and 70%, mortgage rates have quadrupled. And the fact is, it doesn't matter what they are because you can't get the money anyway. You can't buy houses. Young people can't get any financing to buy a house. The total household costs have increased an average of $28,000 per family under this administration. Republicans have a plan to bring down prices and bring them down very, very rapidly. By slashing energy costs, we will in turn reduce the cost of transportation, manufacturing, and all household goods. So much starts with energy.
Right, slashing energy costs by giving subsidies to fossil fuel companies, even though clean energy is actually cheaper now than fossil fuels. But they're going to continue subsidizing fossil fuels and kill clean energy.
To make an absolute fortune.
All the while allowing China to be able to be the leader in clean energy and clean energy manufacturing.
Trump administration, just 3.5 years ago, we were energy independent. But soon
we're energy independent right now.
Better than that, we will be energy dominant in supply.
We are more energy independent now than when Trump was president.
The rest of the world.
That is an absolute 100% fact.
With numbers that nobody has ever seen, and we will reduce our debt, $36 trillion. We will start reducing that, and we will also reduce your taxes still further. Next, and by the way, they want to raise your taxes 4 times, think of it. And all my life I grew up watching politicians. I always loved politics, I guess. I was on the other side. I'd watch and they were always talking about, we will give you a tax cut. We will give you a tax cut. My whole life I was watching, I will give you a tax cut, right, Mr. Congressman? That's all they talked about. This is the only administration that said, we're going to raise your taxes by 4 times what you're paying now, and people are supposed to vote for them? I've never heard it. You're paying
the only people who would have their tax cuts raised under any program by Democrats or Biden is people making over $400,000 a year.
We're going to give you more, and it's going to lead to tremendous growth. We want growth in our country. That's what's going to pay off our debt.
Trump's talking about paying off the debt. He added $7.8 trillion to the debt, the most any Republican president has ever added.
They spent trillions of dollars on things having to do with the Green New Scam. It's a scam. And that's caused tremendous inflationary pressures in addition to the cost of energy. And all of the trillions of dollars that are sitting there not yet spent, we will redirect that money for important projects like roads, bridges, dams, and we will not allow it to be spent on meaningless green new scam ideas. And I will end the electric vehicle mandate on day one. Thereby saving the U.S. auto industry from complete obliteration, which is happening right now, and saving U.S. customers thousands and thousands of dollars per car.
EVs are at parity with gas-powered vehicles, and if EV makers in the U.S. step back, the only thing that will happen is China will fill that void.
Are being built across the border in Mexico. So with all the other things happening on our border, and they're being built by China to make cars and to sell them into our country. No tax, no anything. The United Auto Workers ought to be ashamed for allowing this to happen. And the leader of the United Auto Workers should be fired immediately. And every single auto worker, union and non-union, should be voting for Donald Trump because we're going to bring back car manufacturing and we're going to bring it back fast. They're building some of the largest auto plants anywhere in the world. Think of it, in the world. And we're going to bring it back. We're going to make them. We don't mind that happening, but those plants are going to be built in the United States, and our people are going to man those plants. And if they don't agree with us, we'll put a tariff of approximately 100 to 200% on each car, and they will be unsellable in the United States. We have long been taken advantage of by other countries. And think of it, oftentimes these other countries are considered so-called allies. They've taken advantage of us for years. We lose jobs, we lose revenue, and they gain everything and wipe out our businesses, wipe out our people. I stopped it for 4 years. I stopped it, and we're really ready to make changes like nobody had seen before. And remember, USMCA, I got rid of NAFTA, the worst trade deal ever made, and replaced it with USMCA, which is, they say, the best trade deal ever made. Actually, probably the best trade deal was the deal I made with China, where they buy $50 billion worth of our product. They were buying nothing. They buy $50 billion worth. They had to. But I don't even talk about it because of COVID. I don't even mention it, frankly, because of what happened with the China virus. We will not let countries come in, take our jobs, and plunder our nation. They come and do that. They plunder our nation. The way they will sell their product in America is to build it in America. Very simple. Build it in America and only in America. And this very simple formula, and Congress has to go along with us, and they will. This very simple formula will create massive numbers of jobs. We will take over the auto industry again, and many, many hundreds of thousands of jobs. We lost so many jobs over the years. If you go back 20, 25 years, they've stolen, going to China and Mexico, about 68% of our auto industry manufacturing jobs. We're going to get them all back. We're going to get them all back, every one of them. At the center of our plan for economic relief are massive tax cuts for workers that include something else that's turned out to be very popular, actually. Here it's very popular, in this building and all those hotels that I saw that are so nice. I'm staying in a nice one. It's called no tax on tips. No tax on tips. No tax on tips. I got that by having dinner recently in Nevada, where we're leading by about 14 points. Hello. I'll see you there very soon, everybody. And we're having dinner at a beautiful restaurant in the Trump building on the Strip, and it's a great building, and the waitress comes over. How's everything going? A really nice person. How's everything? Oh, sir, it's so tough. The government's after me all the time on tips, tips, tips.
Guess what I just did? I downloaded the new grocery outlet app on my phone. Let me tell
you. Cash is given. It's all put right on the check. And they come in and they take so much of our money. It's just ridiculous. And they don't believe anything we say. And they've just hired, as you know, 88,000 agents to go after them even more. And I said, this shows the level of my, most people go out, they hire consultants, they pay them millions of dollars. But I said to her, let me just ask you a question. Would you be happy if you had no tax on tips? She said, what a great idea. I got my information from a very smart waitress. That's better than spending millions of dollars. And everybody loves it. Waitresses and caddies and drivers and everybody's a large group of people that are being really hurt badly. They make money, let them keep their money. I'm going to protect Social Security and Medicare. Democrats are going to destroy Social Security.
Every single one of his budgets cut those
Coming
programs.
in, they're going to be on Social Security and Medicare and other things, and you're not able to afford it. They are destroying.
You didn't have a
your Social
single
Security
budget that protected earned benefits. Not one.
Will skyrocket, inflation will vanish completely, jobs will come roaring back, and the middle class will prosper like never, ever before, and we're going to do it very rapidly.
He will cut earned benefits, Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid because he did it on every budget he put forward.
Can succeed unless we stop the illegal immigrant invasion, the worst that's ever been seen.
And when it comes to the border, we would have had a border bill that was negotiated by James Lankford, but Trump called the Republicans in Congress and told them to vote against it so that he can have this moment right here.
Border, we will stop it, and we will stop it quickly. You heard Tom Homan yesterday. Tom Homan, put him in charge and just sit back and watch.
He said, put him in charge. Tom Homan is an author of Project 2025, the same project that Trump says he has nothing to do with and that he doesn't know anybody who's involved with it.
Really, their job is a lot easier if they don't have to do anything, but they want to. They're patriots. Brandon Judd, Border Patrol, ICE. ICE goes out. You have to see what ICE does with MS-13. You have these are probably the worst gang, and ICE goes in there. And I know a lot of people in these rows here, and they're very tough people, but they don't want to do this job. They'll go into a pack of MS-13 killers. They're the worst, probably the worst gangs in the world. And we have thousands of them. I moved thousands and thousands out in my 4 years. We moved them out, and it was a pleasure. But ICE would go right into a pack of these killers, and you see fists flying, you see everything flying, and then they take them. They put them in a paddy wagon. They take them back and they get them out of our country. And the other countries weren't accepting them back. And I called up and I said, tell them that we're not giving them economic aid anymore. And the next day I got calls from all of these countries that were terminated. Billions of dollars we spend on economic aid to countries that does us, frankly, no good. And the next day I was called by everybody. I couldn't take all the calls. Sir, what's the problem? I said, you won't take your killers back that you sent in caravans into America. You won't take them back. Well, sir, if you'd like us to, we would give very serious consideration to doing that. And within 24 hours, they were being taken back. For years and years, when I first came in, they said President Obama tried to get him to go back, and they wouldn't accept him. They'd put planes on the runway so you couldn't leave the plane. They'd close the road so you couldn't take the buses. They'd all have to turn back. As soon as I said no more economic aid of any kind to any country that does that, they called back and they said, sir, it would be our great honor to take MS-13. We love them very much. We love them very much, sir. We'll take them back. At the heart of the Republican platform is our pledge to end this border nightmare and fully restore the sacred and sovereign borders of the United States of America, and we're going to do that on day one. That means two things on day one, right? Drill, baby, drill, and close our borders. And by the way, and I think everybody as a Republican, as a patriot in this room, and most Democrats, we want people to come into our country, but they have to come into our country legally. Legally. Less than 4 years ago, I handed this administration the strongest border in American history. But you can see on the chart that saved my life, that was the chart that saved my life. I said, look it, I'm so proud of it. I think it's one of the greatest, it was done by the Border Patrol, one of the greatest charts I've ever seen. It showed everything just like that. You know the chart. Oh, there it is. That's pretty good. Wow. Last time I put up that chart, I never really got to look at it. But without that chart, I would not be here today.
This speech
never got to look at it.
This speech has been going on for over an hour at this point. He's spoken about nothing, did some basic casual fear porn, talked about a bunch of people he knows in the audience, and then spent most of the time filleting himself over the fact that he got shot.
But I'm seeing it now, and I was very proud. If you look at the arrow in the bottom, that's the lowest level, the one on the bottom, heavy red arrow. That's the lowest level of illegal immigrants ever to come into our country in recorded history, right there. Right there. And that was my last week in office. And then you see what happened after I left. Look at the rest. And if you go out a little bit further, it's getting to be a little bit old, but I love it anyway, right? But you can go much higher with those numbers. Look what happened right after that. The invasion began. We had the opposite. We stopped the invasion. But the invasion that we stopped was peanuts by comparison to what happened after I left. Look at what happened after I left. They took over our country. We ended all catch and release. We shut down asylum fraud. We stopped human trafficking and forged historic agreements to keep illegal aliens on foreign soil. We want them to stay on their soil. Under the Trump administration, if you came in illegally, you were apprehended immediately and you were deported. You went right back. The current administration terminated every single one of those great Trump policies that I put in place to seal the border. I wanted a sealed border. Again, come in, but come in legally. You know how unfair it is? So many people, hundreds of thousands of people, have been working for years to come into our country. And now they see these people pour into our country at levels that are unprecedented. It's so unfair. And we're not going to do it. We're not going to stand for it. They suspended wall construction, ended remain in Mexico. We had a policy, remain in Mexico. You think that was easy to get from the Mexican government? But I said, you must give it to us. If you don't give it to us, there will be repercussions. And they gave it to us. But not easy. Canceled our Safe Third agreements. Demolished Title 42, implemented nationwide catch and release. That's catch and release, where we catch them and release them into our country. We catch them and release them into Mexico. There's a slight difference. And took 93, this is the previous administration, 93 executive actions to throw open our border to the world. The entire world is pouring into our country because of this very foolish administration. The greatest invasion in history is taking place right here in our country. They are coming in from every corner of the earth, not just from South America, but from Africa, Asia, the Middle East. They're coming from everywhere. They're coming at levels that we've never seen before. It is an invasion indeed, and this administration does absolutely nothing to stop them. They're coming from prisons. They're coming from jails. They're coming from mental institutions and insane asylums. You know, the press is always on me because I say this. Has anyone seen Silence of the Lambs? The late, great Hannibal Lecter. He'd love to have you for dinner.
He's actually talking about Hannibal Lecter at his RNC convention speech. What is happening? He's talking about a fictional cannibal on stage at the RNC. How do I get this part of my life back?
Into our country, a certain country, and I happen to like the president of that country very much, but he's been getting great publicity because he's a wonderful shepherd of the country. He says how well the country's doing because their crime rate is down. And he said he's training all of these rough people. They're rough. He's training them. And I've been reading about this for 2 years. I think, oh, that's wonderful. Let's take a look at it. But then I realized he's not training them. He's sending all of his criminals, his drug dealers, his people that are in jails, he's sending them all to the United States. And he's different in that he doesn't say that. He's trying to convince everybody what a wonderful job he does in running the country. Well, he doesn't do a wonderful job. And by the way, if I ran one of the countries, many countries from all over, I would be worse than any of them. I would have had the place totally emptied out already. But we become a dumping ground for the rest of the world, which is laughing at us. They think we're stupid. And they can't believe that they're getting away with what they're getting away with, but they're not going to be getting away with it for long. That's what I can tell you. In Venezuela, Caracas, high crime. Caracas, Venezuela, really a dangerous place, but not anymore. Because in Venezuela, crime is down 72%. In fact, if they would ever win this election, I hate to even say that, we will have our next Republican convention in Venezuela because it will be safe. Our cities will be so unsafe we won't be able. We will not be able to have it there. In El Salvador, murders are down by 70%. Why are they down? Now, he would have you convinced that because he's trained murderers to be wonderful people. No. They're down because they're sending their murderers to the United States of America. This is going to be very bad.
It's just 2016
and bad things are going to happen, and you're
right
seeing
now.
it happen all the time. That's why, to keep our families safe, the Republican platform promises to launch the largest deportation operation in the history of our country. Even larger than that of President Dwight D. Eisenhower from many years ago. You know, he was a moderate, but he believed very strongly in borders. He had the largest deportation operation we've ever had. Just recently, I spoke to the grieving mother of Jocelyn Nungary, a wonderful woman, a precious 12-year-old girl from Houston who last month was tied up, assaulted, and strangled to death after walking to the convenience store just a block away from her house. Her body was dumped near the side of the road in a shallow creek, found by some onlookers who couldn't believe what they had witnessed. Charged with Jocelyn's heinous murder are 2 illegal aliens from Venezuela who came across our border, were in custody, and were then released into the country by this horrible, horrible administration that we have right now. I also met recently with the heartbroken mother and sister of Rachel Morin. Rachel was a 37-year-old mom of 5 beautiful children who was brutally raped and murdered while out on a run. She wanted to keep herself in good shape. It was
more fear porn. Anytime you tune into this, it's just fear porn about brown people. Scaring old white people into being afraid of brown people. That is all they have. It is the same issue over and over. And if there was any doubt about the potency of this issue among the Republican base, ask yourself why Donald Trump was so hell-bent on making sure that every Republican lawmaker and senator knew not to vote on that bill that was negotiated by James Lankford from Oklahoma. It's because having this issue, being able to scare his base, was so important that he made sure that the issue that was plaguing America, the issue that he's talking about right now, an issue that's apparently so pervasive, so scary, so damaging, he made sure to prevent it from being solved because he wanted to be able to stand up at this stage and wield it as a cudgel against Democrats. The solution was not nearly as important as being able to use it as a political campaign issue, and that's what he's doing right here.
These were incredible people who died. Tonight, America, this is my vow. I will not let these killers and criminals into our country. I will keep our sons and daughters safe. As we bring security to our streets, we will help bring stability to the world. I was the first president in modern times to start no new wars. You know, we were the toughest, we were the most respected.
What war did President Biden start?
You saw this hungry, strong country run by a very powerful, tough leader. He's a tough guy. Press doesn't like him because he's tough. And
Press doesn't like him because he's an autocrat.
Interview, the whole world is exploding. What's happening? What's going on?
He's turned Hungary into the first non-democracy in the EU. That's why the press doesn't like him. That's why none of us like him. Because he turned Hungary into an illiberal state. That's his words.
Country and blowing up our shopping centers and killing people. But they said to him, tell us what's going wrong, what's happening, what is it? He said, there's only one way you're going to solve it. You got to bring President Trump back to the United States because he kept everybody at bay. He used a word I wouldn't use because I can't use that word, because you'd say it was braggadocious. The press would say he was a braggart. I'm not a braggart. But
Right.
Viktor Orban said it. He said Russia was afraid of him. China was afraid of him. Everybody was afraid of him. Nothing was going to happen. The whole world was at peace. And now the world is blowing up around us. All of these things that you read about were not going to happen. Under President Bush, Russia invaded Georgia. Under President Obama, Russia took Crimea. Under the current administration, Russia is after all of Ukraine. Under President Trump, Russia took nothing.
And under President Trump, he would allow Russia to have Ukraine. That's the difference. That's what he's not saying.
We defeated 100% of ISIS in Syria and Iraq, something that was said to take 5 years, sir. It'll take 5 years, sir. We did it in a matter of a couple of months. We have a great military. Our military is not woke. It's just some of the fools on top that are woke. I got along very well. North Korea, Kim Jong-un, I got along very well with him. The press hated when I said that. How could you get along with him? Well, you know, it's nice to get along with somebody who has a lot of nuclear weapons or otherwise, isn't it? See, in the old days, they'd say, that's a wonderful thing. Now they say, how can you possibly do that? But no, I got along with him, and we stopped the missile launches from North Korea. Now North Korea is acting up again, but when we get back, I get along with him. He'd like to see me back, too. I think he misses me, if you want to know the truth. Our opponents inherited a world at peace and turned it into a planet of war. We're in a planet of war. Look at that attack on Israel. Look at what's happening with Ukraine. The cities are just bombed out. How can people live like that where buildings, massive buildings, are falling to the ground? It began to unravel with the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan, the worst humiliation in the history of our country. We have never had a humiliation like that. 13 heroic U.S. service members were tragically and needlessly killed. 45 others were horrifically wounded. Nobody ever talks about them. No arms, no legs, face explosions, horrifically wounded. And by the way, we have a man in this room who's running for the U.S. Senate from a great state, Nevada, named Sam Brown, who paid the ultimate price. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Sam.
No, not the ultimate price.
Thank you. He paid the biggest price probably ever paid by anybody that is running for office, and I think he's going to do great. He's running against a person that is not good, not respected, a total lightweight. But Sam, I think, paid, really, we were talking about it with some of the senators that are working so hard for Sam, but he paid the biggest price of any senator ever to run for the Senate. I don't think anybody's ever what he did. He was a real hero, a really great person. And he's running, and I hope that everybody gets out and votes for Sam Brown. And we also left behind $85 billion worth of military equipment, along with many American citizens were left behind. Many, many American citizens, emboldened by that disaster. Russia invaded Ukraine. They saw this group of people that were incompetent. We took the soldiers out first. No, we're going to take the soldiers out second. If they would have followed my plan, we had a great plan. But the plan only kicked in if they did everything perfectly. And they weren't doing things perfectly, so we said it doesn't kick in. You know, 18 months in Afghanistan, we didn't have one, so they were killing them left and right, snipers. And I spoke to the head of the Taliban. You've heard this story. Abdul, still there, still the head of the Taliban.
Holy God.
The press got on me. Why would you speak to him? I said, because that's where the killing is. I don't have to speak to somebody that has nothing to do with it. And I told him, don't ever do that. Don't ever do that again. Don't ever, ever do that again. You've got to stop. Because during the Obama administration, many great people and soldiers, but a lot of soldiers were being killed from long distance. I said, if you keep doing that, you're going to be hit harder than anybody's ever been hit by a country before. And he said, I understand, Your Excellency. He called me Your Excellency. I wonder if he calls the other guy Your Excellency. I doubt it. The other guy gave him everything. I mean, what kind of a deal was that? He walked out, gave him everything. Do you know that right now Afghanistan is one of the largest sellers of weapons in the world? They're selling the brand new, beautiful weapons that we gave them. But think of it. He actually said to me, but why do you show me a picture of my home? I said, you'll have to ask your people or one of your wives. But he could figure it out. And for 18 months, we had not one attack.
Guys, I'm not gonna lie. I am bored beyond comprehension. And the only reason I'm not walking away and putting this on full screen is because I feel like I have a patriotic duty to fact check the bullshit that he's spewing. And so I will stay here and tough this out. But I just need to let you know for the record that this is horrible. This is an incoherent, rambling diatribe. This is a stream of consciousness. If any Democrat did this, it would be the end of their political career. And everybody in this auditorium who is clapping like monkeys because they think that this guy is impressive is an absolute joke.
Who has it now? China has it now.
Oh, God.
We were keeping that. And now China is likewise circling Taiwan, and Russian warships and nuclear submarines are operating 60 miles off the coast in Cuba. Do you know that? No, the press refuses to write about it. If that were me running this country and we had nuclear submarines in Cuba, I will tell you that the headlines every day would be, what's wrong with our president? You don't even hear this. You're not hearing about this. Russia has nuclear submarines and warships 60 miles away, Mr. Congressman, from Miami, by the way, happens to be here. Correct? In Cuba. And that would not be stood for if it were somebody else. They don't want to mention it, but now maybe they will. And the entire world, I tell you this, we want our hostages back, and they better be back before I assume office, or you will be paying a very big price. With our victory in November, the years of war, weakness, and chaos will be over. I don't have wars. I had no wars other than ISIS, which I defeated, but that was a war that was started. We had no wars. I could stop wars with a telephone call. I could stop wars with just a telephone call. If properly stated, it would never start. We will replenish our military and build an Iron Dome missile defense system to ensure that no enemy can strike entirely in the USA. We're going to build it in the USA. And Wisconsin, just like I gave you that massive ship contract, and you're doing a very nice job, Governor, right? Thank you, Governor. And they're doing a great job. In fact, I had a little design change, and we gave them a tremendous for essentially what we used to call destroyers. These are now the most beautiful. They look like yachts. I said, we have to take the bow, and we have to make it a little nicer and a little point at the top instead of a flat nose. And the people at the shipyard said, this guy sort of knows what he's doing. We have the most beautiful ships, right, Governor? And everybody's sitting over there. And it was a big contract that everybody wanted. I gave it to Wisconsin, but we're going to have a lot of that built right here in the state of Wisconsin and all other states. Israel has an Iron Dome. They have a missile defense system. 342 missiles were shot into Israel, and only one got through a little bit. It was badly wounded. It fell to the ground, but most of them are. And Ronald Reagan wanted this many years ago, but we really didn't have the technology many years ago. Remember, they called it Starship, spaceship, anything to mock him. But he was a very good
If this was any more boring, it would be illegal to watch this while driving.
But now we have unbelievable technology. And why should other countries have this and we don't? No, we're going to build an Iron Dome over our country, and we're going to...
An Iron Dome to protect us from who? Canada?
And again, from an economic development standpoint, we're going to make it all right here. No more sending it out to other countries in order to help.
Costa Rica is going to start bombing us?
It's America first. America first.
The Virgin Islands? What is he talking about? Who's going to bomb America that we need an Iron Dome?
On the verge of finding the cures to cancer, Alzheimer's disease, and many other diseases. We're going to get to the bottom of it. You remember this gentleman that I don't want to mention other than one time I had to, because when you say the 10 worst, I had to do it. I didn't want anybody to be confused. But this man said, we're going to find a cure to cancer. Nothing happened. We're going to get to the cure for cancer and Alzheimer's and so many other things. We're so close to doing something great. But we need a leader that will let it be done. We will not have men playing in women's sports. That will end immediately. And we will restore and renovate our nation's once great cities, making them safe, clean, and beautiful again. And that includes our nation's capital, which is a horrible killing field. So many things. They leave from Wisconsin, they go to look at the Washington Monument, and they end up getting stabbed, killed, or shot.
I should remind everybody that the murder rate peaked under Trump's presidency, and it's down 25% under Biden. Trump brought in crime.
America is on the cusp of a new golden age, but we will have the courage to seize it. We're going to take it. We're going to make it a current. We're going to bring this into a golden age like never seen before. Remember this, China wants to do it. Japan wants to do it.
Did his teleprompter go out? What is happening right now?
We have to produce massive amounts of energy if we're going to produce the new. If you look at some of the things that have been done.
He keeps bouncing from topic to topic, and he's already done all of these things. He's talking about energy, and I'll repeat my fact check. We're more energy independent now under Biden than we ever were under Trump.
Electricity that's available now in our country. Can you imagine? But instead, we're spending places where they recharge electric cars. They built 8 chargers at a certain location toward the Midwest. 8 chargers for $9 billion. Think of them as a tank.
All of the money for the chargers was allocated in the Inflation Reduction Act, and the Inflation Reduction Act did not allocate $9 billion for 8 chargers. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
And if you were going to do this all over our country, this crazy electric mandate, if you're going to do this all, and by the way, I'm all for electric. They have their application. But if somebody wants to buy a gas-powered car, gasoline-powered car, or a hybrid, they're going to be able to do it. And we're going to make that change on day 1. So to conclude, just a few short days ago, my journey with you nearly ended. We know that. And yet, here we are tonight, all gathered together, talking about the future, promise, and a total renewal of a thing we love very much. It's called America. We live in a world of miracles. None of us knows God's plan or where life's adventure will take us. I want to thank Franklin Graham for being here tonight. He's an outstanding man. He wrote me a note recently. I have a lot of respect for him. Sir, I love your storytelling. I think it's great in front of these big rallies. But, sir, please do me one favor. It won't make any difference please don't use any foul language. I was a little embarrassed. He said, it won't make any difference. Actually, it does. The story's not quite as good, but I've been very good. The story is not quite as good, to be honest. I've got to have a little talk with Franklin, but he was great. He's a great gentleman. His father was so incredible, Billy Graham. My father used to love taking me to see Billy Graham. My father would take me to see Billy Graham at Yankee Stadium. He had the biggest rallies you've ever seen. He was a good rally guy, too. But he'd get up, and he was a fantastic guy. My father loved Billy Graham. But I love Franklin Graham. I think Franklin's been fantastic, and I'm working so hard to adhere to his note to me. I'm working hard on it, Franklin. But if the events of last Saturday make anything clear, it is that every single moment we have on earth is a gift from God. We have to make the most of every day for the people and for the country that we love. The attacker in Pennsylvania wanted to stop our movement, but the truth is the movement has never been about me. It has always been about you. It's your movement. It's the biggest movement in the history of our country by far. Can't be stopped. It can't be stopped. It has.
Trump saying that the America First MAGA movement is not about him may be the biggest lie that he's told of this entire speech.
Settled for too little. We settled for too little.
There is nothing that Donald Trump loves more than Donald Trump.
Other nations, to other people. You have been told to lower your expectations and to accept less for your families.
Dear God, even when he said in conclusion that was a lie.
Message. Your expectations are not big enough. They're not big enough. It is time to start expecting and demanding the best leadership in the world, leadership that is bold, dynamic, relentless, and fearless. We can do that. We are Americans. Ambition is our heritage. Greatness is our birthright. But as long as our energies are spent fighting each other, our destiny will remain out of reach, and that's not acceptable. We must instead take that energy and use it to realize our country's true potential and write our own thrilling chapter of the American story. We can do it together. We will unite. We are going to come together, and success will bring us together. It is a story of love, sacrifice, and so many other things.
I feel like I'm being punked.
And remember the word, devotion. It's unmatched devotion.
That's what he
Our
wants.
American ancestors crossed the Delaware, survived.
He wants people devoted to him.
And defeated a mighty empire to establish our cherished republic. They fought so hard, they lost so many.
I'm like 80% sure he's going to bring the chart back out.
Miles across a dangerous frontier, taming the wilderness to build a life and a magnificent home for their family. They packed their families into covered wagons, trekked across hazardous trails, scaled towering mountains, and braved rivers and rapids to stake their claim on the wide open, new, and very beautiful frontier. When our way of life was threatened, American patriots marched onto the battlefield, raced into enemy strongholds, and stared down death and stared down those enemies to keep alive the flame of freedom. At Yorktown, Gettysburg, and Midway, they joined the roll call of immortal heroes. So many just so many heroes, so many great, great people. And we have to cherish those people. We can't forget those people. We have to cherish those people. And building monuments to those great people is a good thing, not a bad thing. They saved our country. No challenge was too much. No hardship was too great. No enemy was too fierce. Together, these patriots soldiered on and endured, and they prevailed because they had faith in each other, faith in their country, and above all, they had faith in their God. Just like our ancestors, we must now come together, rise above past differences. Any disagreements have to be put aside and go forward united as one people, one nation, pledging allegiance to one great, beautiful, I think it's so beautiful, American
His speeches
flag.
are just boilerplate buzzword platitudes sandwiched on top of each other.
For your support, and I am humbly asking for your vote.
Humbly.
I want your vote.
Humbly. He's an hour and a half. He's an hour and a half into a speech that has talked about nothing but how great he is,
To honor
and he
the
thinks
trust
it's
you have
humble.
placed in me, and I will never, ever let you down. I promise that. I will never let you down. To all of the forgotten men and women who have been neglected, abandoned, and left behind, you will be forgotten no longer. We will press forward, and together we will win, win, win.
He's presided over election losses in 2018, 2020, 2022, and 2023. But other than that, doing great.
Win, 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 win. Nothing will sway us, nothing will slow us, and no one will ever stop us. No matter what dangers come our way, no matter what obstacles lie in our path, we will keep striving toward our shared and glorious destiny, and we will not fail. We will not fail. Together, we will save this country, we will restore the republic, and we will usher in the rich and wonderful tomorrows that our people so truly deserve. America's future will be bigger, better, bolder, brighter, happier, stronger, freer, greater, and more united than ever before. And quite simply put, we will very quickly make America great again. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Wisconsin. God bless you. God bless you, Wisconsin, and God bless the United States of America, our great country. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
My God, I feel like it's already 2028. How did we not just already miss the 2024 election through that speech? I feel like I've celebrated 3 birthdays. Okay, obviously, an absolutely incoherent, rambling diatribe, a stream of consciousness where he said nothing of substance, nothing of honesty or truth, nothing of value. That kept me fact-checking for an hour and a half when he lied about ushering in energy independence, even though President Biden is presiding over a period of more energy independence than we had under Trump. He lied about the border and claimed that we can't get any border security, even though a border bill was negotiated by Kyrsten Sinema, James Lankford, and Chris Murphy. That the only reason it wasn't passed was because Donald Trump himself issued his clarion call to Republican senators and lawmakers to make sure they voted against it so that he could stand up on that stage and fearmonger about brown people coming in, selling, drugs to your kids and raping your wives. That is the exact reason why he made sure that that border bill didn't pass. Over and over and over, just spewed out lies. I mean, honestly, objectively speaking, the single worst convention speech I've ever heard in my life. It was an hour and a half of which was a self-congratulatory story where he filleted himself over the fact that he was shot. After that was 20 minutes of him identifying people in the audience who made speeches. And then finally, it was just the same thing over and over and over about immigrants and energy independence. I'm surprised he didn't get to windmills and toilets flushing. One quick request for those who've stuck with me for the entirety of this program. We've started this live stream at 6:30. It's now 6:30 Pacific. It's now almost 9:30 Pacific. So coming on 3 hours now. To support my work, the best way to do that is to pre-order my book that's coming out. It's called Shameless. I've pinned the link at the top of this chat. You can also just go to Amazon or Barnes & Noble or bookshop.org. They help independent booksellers, bookshop.org, and just type in Shameless. That is the best way to support what I do. I won't put my content behind any paywalls or anything like that. I won't do sponsored ads, and I never have. But the one thing that I would ask if you're looking to support my work and this stream is to pre-order my book. So again, that's called Shameless, and you can click the link at the top of this chat, or you can just search anywhere. Search Amazon, Barnes & Noble, bookshop.org, or your local independent bookseller. So with that said, if you have any questions, throw them in the chat. I'll do my best to answer them. But we did do a solid, I think this was important to do. There were a few people saying, why give him a platform? First of all, people are going to hear this and not have the opportunity to hear a live fact check. And so I didn't hesitate for a minute to do that fact check in real time, because I think that that's a good opportunity to rebut his lies as he spews them. And he spews them freely and without reservation. There's a point at which I don't even know he knows he's lying anymore, because he's so quick to spew out these lies. Somebody just wrote in the chat, was I on shrooms? That is probably the most apt description of what we've just heard. I said it during this speech, and I'll repeat it now. That speech was so boring, it would be illegal to listen to it while driving. And thank you, by the way, for people writing in the chat saying that they've pre-ordered my book. I very much appreciate it. So thank you for doing that. And let me know in the chat if you have had a chance to pre-order. The book, by the way, the foreword was written by Jamie Raskin. So if not for me, do it for Jamie. If nothing else, I will be glad to not see this ear pillow anymore. Okay, throw some questions in the chat. I'll do my best to answer them, and then I'll finally give you guys an opportunity to go to sleep. The good news is, for anybody who normally needs Xanax or NyQuil, Benadryl to fall asleep, I don't think you're going to need those tonight. Just put on repeat this 97-minute speech of Donald Trump rambling about whatever errant synapse fires in his brain to the point where some nonsensical word falls out of his face, followed by the same process over and over and over, with a bunch of buzzwords about the energy independence and sprinkled in with more stuff about the Pledge of Allegiance and just absolute nonsense. It would be a career killer if it was any Democratic politician in front of any audience that was even moderately discerning. If these people had an ounce of discernment, this would be the last speech that person ever gave in politics. And yet, here we are. I just got the question, what do I think of batteries and sharks? I don't know what we did to deserve the hell that we live in right now. That's my response to that question. What did we do to get to the point where this is our political reality? All right, here's some questions that I think are important to discuss. Do I think that that after this speech, the noise on Biden dropping will stop? No, I don't, because I think it's baked in that Republicans can do these kind of speeches, these rambling diatribes, these streams of consciousness about absolutely nothing that would kill the political career of any Democratic politician. It is baked in that this is the norm for Republicans. And yet, if a Democrat misplaces a modifier, then we're going to have 5 days of front page news coverage. That is the reality of the media in this country. Republicans are graded on the curve. Democrats are not. So just because Donald Trump gave an absolutely incoherent, nonsensical, rambling, dismal, lie-filled speech, it will not matter, because that's baked in. That's what the media has come to expect. And because they're graded on the curve, nothing will be said about it other than maybe just a fleeting headline about how it was long. And then we'll go right back to complaining about Democrats. Here's another question I've gotten. How does the Democratic Party rally back if Joe Biden stays in? There's a good chunk who told him to drop out. I think ultimately, at the end of the day, it's going to just be a matter of focusing on whoever is at the top of the ticket, whether it's Joe Biden or Kamala Harris. Our messaging remains the same, and that is, do you want to live in a country where abortion is banned, or do you want to live in a country where it's not? Do you want to live in a country where contraception's banned, or a country where it's still free? Do you want to live in a country where IVF is banned, or a country where it's not? Do you want to live in a country where the Voting Rights Act is stripped away, or do you want to live in a country where it's not? A country where tax cuts are given to millionaires and billionaires, or where the economy is for works for working class people as it has now? Like, on issue after issue, a country where, for example, we have a 7-2 or 6-3 entrenched conservative Supreme Court, or one that doesn't. So on issue after issue, it doesn't matter who is at the top of the ticket. What matters is the agenda that Republicans want to push forward. And that is an agenda that attacks women's reproductive rights, an agenda that attacks fair wages for fair tax rates and making the rich pay their fair share, an agenda that heaps benefits onto millionaires and billionaires through tax cuts. On issue after issue, it is just the agenda that matters. So that's the important thing as we move forward. Let me get this out of here. For those asking, will I offer an audio version of my book? Yes, and I did the narrating for the book. So I sat in the booth for like 15 hours and did the narration for it. So that's available for pre-order as well. It's already available now if you guys want to grab that. Is there enough time for Kamala to be put onto the ballot? I don't know when they get printed. Yes, technically, the Democratic nominee has not been chosen until the convention. The convention is where the nominee accepts the nomination. So until such time as, I don't know what the exact date is, maybe the 20th of August rolls around, there isn't officially a nominee chosen. So the Democratic Party is on the ballots, but the nominee himself or herself is not chosen yet officially until after they accept the nomination at the convention and after they get enough delegates officially at the convention. So technically speaking, there would be enough time. Have I heard that Raskin called on President Biden to drop out? Yeah, I read the New York Times article of a number of people, and it looked like Raskin did suggest that Biden should drop out. And as far as I know, there was no denial from that. We've also had Adam Schiff and John Tester recently calling him to drop out as well. So we'll see what happens. I mean, either way, I think for folks watching right now, either way, whether it's Biden or Kamala, we will at least on this issue have some clarity, because I think it's this purgatory that we're in right now that's making it so difficult, because we don't know what's going to happen. And so we're just it's hard to prosecute this case for a second term when we don't know whether the nominee is even going to be Joe Biden, like who we're prosecuting the case for. I think that's the difficult part, and that's the part that we'll have clarity in the coming days. Thank you, by the way. I know people are still writing that they've pre-ordered. I very much appreciate it. And continue to let me know in the chat if you've been able to pre-order the book. That is a huge help. That's the best way to support what I do. Again, I won't do ads. I don't hawk products. I'm not going to sit here and try to sell you guys dog food and whatnot. But that is a great way to support my work. So thank you. And by the way, if anybody lives in New York, LA, or DC, I'll be doing live events in New York, LA, and DC. You can click the link right at the top of the chat as well. That same link will bring you to the book tour ticket stuff. So just scroll down on that link, and you can see all the info for the book tour, including tickets. In DC, I'll be on stage with Jen Psaki. In New York, I'll be on stage with Al Franken, and in LA, I'll be on stage with Jon Favreau. So if you have any availability and you live in those cities or want to go to those cities, definitely come see us in person. We'll be talking to people afterwards, signing the books and everything. So it'd be great to meet people in person if you live in DC, New York, or LA. Again, you can check that. You can find that link at the top of the chat. It's pinned right now. Okay, let's do one more question, and then is there a version of the audiobook that we can purchase not on Amazon? Yes, you can go on Barnes & Noble and get the audiobook as well. Or you can go to bookshop.org and buy that as well there. By the way, just so that people know, when people write books, I guess a little like trick of the trade, the pre-order period, every book sold in the pre-order period, they accrue, and then it counts for all of the books sold in the pre-order period count for week 1 sales. And so if you want to make I was an English major, I got an English degree, my holy grail is the New York Times bestseller list. That is like my life goal is to be on top of the New York Times bestseller list, and all of the books sold in the pre-order period all count for week 1. So, which is the week that you have to try to get on the list. It's going to be almost impossible after week 1, but all of those sales in the pre-order period count on week 1. So that's why I've been pushing them for this pre-order period, because they all count at the same time. They don't hit until the book is actually released, which is going to be August 13th. So on August 13th, every book sold between then and between right now and then is all going to count for that same week. So, and they all count for the Times bestseller list. The hardcover copies count for the bestseller list. The audiobook doesn't, but that's okay. If you want to listen to the audiobook, and that's best for you, then absolutely do that, because I want this to be a good experience for everybody. But all of the audiobooks count toward the New York Times bestseller list. So that's why that's why all authors promote, say that pre-orders are important, because all of these books that were sold in the pre-order period count toward the actual week 1 sales. So that's just a quick thing, because I know that you've probably heard every person on TV who's written a book promote pre-orders. That's the reason why. Okay. Look at them. They all dress identical to their God King. I mean, it's so sad. It's so sad. They even dress like him. They get the same color, everything. Their identities are just Donald Trump. That's it. They have no personality, no defining characteristics. They are just, how close to my God King can I be? How much can I look like him and talk like him and sound like him and spell things wrong like him, dress like him, walk like him? I mean, the whole thing is so pathetic, what these people have allowed themselves to devolve into. For a party of people who beat their chests as alphas, there is nothing more groveling, sycophantic, and pathetic, frankly, than their desperation to wrap themselves into the covering that is Donald Trump. The cult wedding look, exactly. Dear God. I mean, the whole thing is just so pathetic. It is so pathetic. All the while claiming that they're alphas. And yet they are just so desperate to get a little pat on the head by Donald. Well, I think we can leave it there. As much as I want to stare at a bunch of groveling sycophants and supplicants for Donald Trump, continued to wave at their adoring fans who have the discernment of 4-year-olds. I think we can probably call it one question I got, and then we'll end with this. With the VP debate being called off, how do you think that will affect things going forward? I think as of right now, it hasn't been called off. I think that so far we've had a refusal by J.D. Vance to actually commit to a VP debate. But I think once we have some clarity in terms of what the ticket is actually going to be, whether the ticket remains Biden-Harris or, you know, whether some of this reporting comes to fruition and we see a change at the top of the ticket. Either way, once we have some clarity, I do presume that we'll see a debate between whoever the VP is and J.D. Vance. So that remains to be seen. And I'm also doing my best to make sure that I can live stream it. Obviously, these networks have a vested interest in making sure that nobody can live stream their stuff. I wasn't allowed to live stream the CNN debate. They would have hit my channel with a copyright strike. So, you know, that's why most of us didn't stream it. And this next one's being streamed by CBS. So I'm waiting for some guidance in terms of whether we'll be able to stream the CBS debate as well, the VP debate, if and when it happens. So as soon as I have some updates there, I'll let you know. But for anybody watching right now, if you want to make sure to watch that when it does happen, if and when it does happen, please make sure to subscribe to this channel right here, and I'll make sure to live stream it. If in any way it's possible that I can, I absolutely will. So with that said, I'll leave it there. Thank you everybody for sticking through this. Somehow we'll be repaid by the universe for enduring the last 100 minutes or so of whatever it was that was. But yeah, the universe owes us one. So we will leave it there. Thank you again for tuning in. I appreciate it, and catch you for the next one.